Okay, let's add some lighter materials. So I'm just going to call this collection PC. So just with that, double click on that collection and call it PC. Right click here, create a new collection. Make sure that you are on scene collection, otherwise it's going to create a collection inside of this collection. So we don't want that. So I'm just going to press Ctrl Z with scene collection selected, new collection, and call this one LC. That's lights and camera. That's what I always use. And let's maybe just add a camera first. So Shift A and then add a camera. And a cool trick, if you want to align your camera to your current view, is you press Control Alt numpad 0, and then now it's aligned there. And just to frame it better, make sure you've got your side panel open. So press N, and if you get this side panel, the first one that says item transform, now we can play here. So the X moves it in the X direction, and then the Y moves it back, so it's going to give us a bit more depth. So let's maybe just bring it back a bit, and then in the X and then the Z is basically up and down. It's a bit confusing in Blender because in most other programs Y is your up and down and Z is your depth, but don't worry about that. That's just one of those things. Okay, so now we've got our camera set up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up some lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go Shift A, press a light, and then just get an area light. I like to use area lights. S, make it a bit bigger, and then go to G, Z, and sort of bring it up there. And let's go over to Material Preview, to the rendered preview, and this last button here. And now we can see it. I actually want to go over to cycles for this. So press cycles, and then device, if you've got a GPU, enable that. And let's just work with a few render settings because we're going to add some glossy materials. So here in your render settings, let's come down here. Let's go to light paths, increase the max bounces to, let's make it 16. And then for transmission, make it 12. And for transparent, make it 12, because we want to add glass. Otherwise, your glass bounces are going to be limited to 1, and that's definitely not going to be enough. So, and then here we've got our render max samples to 200. I'm just going to set it to 256 for now. I can usually bring it up to 512 for a scene like this. Yes, let's add the materials now, or let's just maybe play with the light a bit. Let's bring this up to 100 and see what it looks like, and then make it a bit bigger. Remember, the thing with lights is the bigger the light, the softer the shadows. So if you can see, if I scale my light here up and down, I'm making it small, and the shadows are getting harsher. And if I make it bigger, the shadows are softer. So I'm going to make it quite big because I don't want these. It's not a dramatic scene. I just want everything to be lit nicely. So I've made it quite big, and I'm also bringing it up a bit. And I think we're good to go with that. Maybe, yes, okay. Let's go to shading. And then press 0 so we're in the camera. I always like to work in the camera view. And then go to the far right to see the rendered view. So let's add this material. I want to add a glassy material. So I'm going to press new material. Let's call this PC glass. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this principled BSDF shader, and I'm just going to delete it for now. And then everything goes black, no worries. And then now we need to add a glass BSDF shader. And then also, okay, sorry, I had to explain the way you add it. It's just like anything else in Blender. Shift A and then just glass BSDF, and then the next one is a transparent BSDF. So we've got these two shaders, and now we want to mix them together. So we add a Shift A, add a mix shader, and then we pump the transparent into the bottom and the glass into the top, and then we can just pump the shader into the surface, and already we can see, you can see we've got this sort of glass effect going here. This one was actually come down a bit, so see it's, I'm just going to bring this down a bit. Okay, let's make it a bit nicer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the glass a slight tint, sort of bluish tint, just very slight. You can see a little goes a long way here. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a node that says is this a light path node. And then where it says is the fuse ray, I'm going to put that into the factor. And that's just going to make everything look a bit nicer. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to make this glass a bit more milky. And the way I can do that is just add Shift A, Principal BSDF, and then make this one, give this one also sort of a bluish color, whatever color you want. And then now Shift A, add another mix shader. And then we can pump this in here. And then now we've got this color, and if now we can drive it. So obviously if I bring the factor up to 1, it only shows this one, but I can bring it down here. So we only want to introduce a slight bit of milkiness here. So I'm just going to bring this in, and I'm maybe going to bring the roughness down for this as well, so it's a bit more shiny. So yes, this is what we get. This is pretty cool. And now we can just copy this over to, let's copy this over to the back as well. So with the back selected, I'm going to shift select the one we just created, and then Control L, link materials. And then now we've got this over here. And that's, see, it's already starting to look pretty cool. So let's just create the shader for this little trackpad. So I'm going to just copy this one again. Controls. So with the trackpad selected first, and then the shift select the bottom one, Control L, link materials. And then all we're going to do with this one, I want to make this one a bit darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here to the PC glass, and I want to make a copy of this material. So I'm just going to click this button here with a number. This number says that how many instances are using this particular material. And if I click this button, it's going to make a new instance. So make sure you've only got this one selected. Then I'm going to press this, and then now it creates a new one. And now I'm going to call this tracker. And let's just make it a bit darker here. And that's it. Okay. And then actually what I want to do is I want to add an HDRI as well, because I'm not so happy with the lights. Let's see. So the way you can add an HDRI is just go here to surface background, and you can just, well, let's play with the surface background color a bit. I'm just going to make this color a bit more blue as well. So I went here to the world settings and then surface background color, and I just made this a bit more blue. And then another thing we need to do is we need to go up to our render settings, and there where it says film, transparent, because I don't want a background on this. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere. So let's make the material for the keys. So I'm just going to say new. Okay, then for this one, I'm just going to maybe select this color here, or maybe just bring it up a bit. I'm going to make it a bit more shiny. I'm going to bring these down a bit, G, Z. So bring the roughness down to about 0.2. And then let's add some subsurface. Now what subsurface does is it basically adds light that penetrates into your object. So it's something, think of something like skin or candle wax where the light penetrates inside of the object. So we go to subsurface here and then bring the weight up to 1. And we just keep the radius, and these are basically RGB values, but I'm just going to keep them like that. And then the scale maybe 0.05 is fine. So it's just a touch of subsurface scattering. Then now if I go to the back here, okay, everything is fine. And then we can select this one here. And then shift select, and then we can just add the same materials. This is almost sort of like a plasticky type of material. Okay, then Control L, link materials. So now we've got everything set up here. Now let's create the materials for these charts. So what I'm gonna do something different to them. I'm just gonna create a new material and gonna call it chart 1. And what I'm going to do here is where it says principal BSDF, I'm going to change it to emission. And the emission is basically just emits the material. Okay. But now we've got a problem at the back here, but don't worry, we're going to fix that. So we've got this emission. I'm just going to duplicate this material. So with this one selected, I'm just going to create another slot. And I'm going to, so just plus here, create another slot, chart 1, and then just click this button to create a new one. And then say chart 2. And then let's make this one like a serious yellow. And then we're going to just create another one. So make a plus button for another material slot, bring in chart 2. Click this button to duplicate it, and chart 3, and this one we're going to make red, like so. Cool. Okay, now we need to assign these 3 to the chart. So basically go into click tab, and then let's make this one red. So with your mouse hovered over this one, select L, or just want to select L here. So make sure you've got this one selected, and then just you see with the chart color selected, click assign. And then now let's do it with the second one. Make sure that you're in face mode, and it's easier to select everything. I'm going to make this one yellow, so assign. This one I'm going to leave white, and then L. This one I'm going to make red as well, and assign. Okay, and then press 0 to see what everything looks like in our camera. Okay, that's cool. So now we're getting somewhere. Let's make the pie chart as well. So I'm just going to bring in these 3 colors. So make 2 more material slots, and then go down here and then add chart 2, and then go down here and add chart 3, and then tab into edit mode. And let's maybe, now we need to select these rings. So I'm going to press Alt select. So I select this whole ring, hold in Shift and then Alt select here, and then continue to do that. So Shift and Alt select, click on this edge here. So you select this whole edge loop. And then we assign maybe, let's assign this one here. And then now we do the same here. So Alt select here. Just clicking all these here. with Alt and Shift held in. Okay, and then we assign this one here. Okay, now it's looking fine. The only problem is we can see this at the back here, and we don't want to see this at the back because this is glass. This is transparent. Let's just add a solid here to the back of the PC. So I'm just going to repurpose this, the one that says material 01, which is I should actually rename my things. That's for the keys. So I'm maybe just call this one keys. So we can just tab into edit mode and just select with the face select this one at the back here and just assign this here. And then now this is looking cool because it's also making it a bit darker, but you've still got some nice reflections going on here from the front, but the back is solid. So I think this is looking fine. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to animate this guy. Okay, let's start with the animation. So I'm just going to go back here into the animation tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create an empty so that I can use as a controller because I want to spin this keyboard. I want to spin this laptop around. So Shift A, or let's just put this back into the center of the world. So Shift C puts our cursor back into the center of the world. And then Shift A, let's create, where is the empties? Empty, let's create a cube. And that's fine. Okay, this needs to go to the PC collection. So I'm just with that one selected. If you press M, you can move it. So I'm moving that to the PC. Now I need to select all of these. So just holding Shift and then import. This is very important. Select this one last, the empty, because we want to parent all of these to the empty. And and you'll see that it's selected last. It's got a different color. It's got more like a yellow color. The rest have got this orangey red color. Sorry, I'm a bit colorblind, so I can't always see it. But make sure you've got that one selected last, the empty, and then Control P, and then Object, Keep Transform. And now if I go to Z to spin it around the Z axis, you can see it's working perfectly. So let's animate this. I'm going to go to the camera, press 0. Then with this empty selected, you can just go here to the one that says object and go into the location and then press I, and then you'll see it goes yellow, and that gives us a keyframe. And then let's do it over 2 seconds, and then over 2 seconds you go here to, sorry, I did something wrong. I put it under Z location. I actually want it under rotation. Okay, let's go back to frame 1. Under Z rotation, press I, and then we go to frame 48, which is 2 seconds at 24 frames per second, and we put in 360. And then we press I again, and now it should spin over 2 seconds. And then here at the end we make it, let's make it 48, or let's make it a bit longer because I still want to animate some of the elements. So let's make this one 48 plus 24. So we've got 72, which is 3 seconds. Okay, and then now you can see it's animating, but mine is linear because I set my interpolation for linear. So yours should be Bezier handle. But anyway, select all of these, press T, and then now we can change our interpolation. So make sure we've got Bezier because we want this sort of, and then press spacebar to see what it looks like, and that's looking fine. So let's animate the chart. Okay, and there's a cool way to do this. I'm going to show you a very cool trick. So go into, with the chart one selected, go into the one before the last one, the one that says data, and then add a shape key. Basis, just say yes, don't worry about that, and add a new one. And this is going to be where we animate this, and we just call this animation. So it's on the data, this one that's got the 3 dots like that. Then go into tab, and now we can just press with face select the top one, and then G, maybe bring this one all the way up, and then G, bring this one up as well, and then maybe G, bring this one down, and then G, bring this one all the way up. So basically what happens now, that you see the value there now. If I bring this slider up, we can animate this. So let's animate this. So we go with a value, press I, and then maybe go to the middle, which is 31. We've got 72 frames, so that would be 31. And then bring this up to 1. And then go to the end. And then all you do is select these, press Shift D, and then just drag them over. So now, if I go into the camera view, we've got this, which is very nice. And this, maybe just as a final touch, we can also animate the pie. So the pie is rotating on the y-axis. So select object here, go to the y-axis, press I, and then go to the very end, and then maybe make it 360. And then just press, you can click this button as well. If you click this button, then it animates there. Okay, but now something weird is happening, and I'll tell you exactly what's happening. The pivot point for this is there at the bottom. We want it to be in the center, but that's an easy fix. So all you do is, with this one selected, right click, and then say set origin to geometry, because the origin was there at the bottom. So now it should be fine. Okay, now it's fine. So let me just go back into, I'm just going to go into the viewport shading, and that's basically okay. So everything's ready now. So if I go into render mode, you can see everything's looking really nice, and it's a perfect loop. So now we just need to render this out. So to do that, you go here to cycles. So the first thing you do is go to color management. I should have done that first, and then I'm set at RGB, but I want the view transform to be standard. That's usually the best for non-photorealistic stuff, and make the contrast medium high. And then you can always, in After Effects, you can play with the curves and make it better. And then now what you do now is you go to, now we've got that set up. Now we need to set the output. So go to this one that looks like a printer, and then click there, and then just select where you want to save it, give it a name, and then go to render animation, and go and make yourself a cup of coffee. And when you come back, you'll have something pretty cool.